Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mike Norvell, this Florida State program, continue to do what I think is really good work in the transfer portal as they land the commitment of former Ole Miss offensive lineman Micah Pettus. The first thing you talk about with Micah Pettus is the size, 6'7", 360. What I love most about Micah Pettus is how this kid is wired to play along the line of scrimmage. You're not going to see many offensive linemen that are more nasty than Micah Pettus. And there are times where it bites him in the butt a little bit. He's picked up some penalties for some after the play extracurricular type stuff. I don't mind it at all if you're Florida State. Like, obviously you don't want the penalties, but I think if you're Florida State, you want a little bit more nastiness on the offensive line. 2024, it was a disaster. I don't think that's groundbreaking analysis for any Florida State fan. But even in 2023 and in 2022, when Florida State was winning a lot of football games, it did feel like this Florida State offensive line wasn't as physically imposing as you wanted it to be. Micah Pettus is going to fix that. He's going to fix that in a hurry. And I think the second thing that comes to my mind is Mike Norvell. Look, we said it's hard to transform an offensive line in the transfer portal, and we knew Florida State would need to do that if they want to win games in 2025. That's exactly what they're doing. It's hard to find starting caliber tackles in the transfer portal. Florida State has found two. Gunnar Hansen at Vanderbilt on the left side, Micah Pettus on the right side. Micah Pettus, a guy that has 29 career starts at the right tackle position, 2,100 career snaps in 2024, 424 pass pro opportunities, 1 sack, only 15 quarterback hurries. This is a proven commodity at the tackle position for Florida State heading into 2025. He's done it at the SEC level. He's done it for a long time. All of a sudden, you look at Micah Pettus at right tackle and say, you feel pretty damn good about what Micah Pettus can bring to Florida State at the right tackle position in 2025. Then you flip to the left side and say, go get a guy in Gunnar Hansen, who has started 35 games at the left tackle position in the SEC at Vanderbilt, has also played over 2,100 career snaps. A lot of programs struggled to find one starting caliber tackle in the transfer portal. I think Florida State has found two, one at the left side, one at the right side. If you're Florida State, it's hard to not see this offensive line taking a massive step in the right direction in 2025. Now, is it going to be as good as Florida State wants it to be? I think it's working their way up there. I think Herb Hand was a really good hire. If you want to build an elite caliber offensive line, I think a lot of Florida State fans understand that starts on the high school recruiting trail. But in terms of bridging the gap till these high school kids come into Florida State and can take over, Micah Pettus and Gunnar Hansen, that's a really good starting point if you're a Florida State fan going into 2025. Now, want to get a little bit more into Micah Pettus, talk about what Florida State has done in the transfer portal up until this point. Before we get into it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. It's been a busy last couple of weeks for Florida State, talking about coaching hires, talking about transfer portal additions. The Florida State fans, y'all continue to show a ton of love and support to the boys. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one. And when you're talking about Micah Pettus, I think it first starts with the athlete that he is. 6'7", 360, really good feet and pass protection. Now, this is a guy that you kind of trust to hold up and pass protection on the right side. And I think, secondly, he's a hammer in the run game. And that's what Florida State's going to want to do in 2025. You bring in Gus Malzahn, who's one of the best offensive-minded coaches when it comes to getting a ground game going. Then you bring in Thomas Castellanos. We all know what he can do with the football in his hands. This is a Florida State team that is going to want to run the football a lot in 2025. You're bringing a guy like Micah Pettus, 6'7", 360. He's going to be moving bodies off the line of scrimmage. And what he does kind of surprisingly well for his size, he can go up and climb to the second level and pick up some linebackers relatively routinely, which is hard to find tackles who are 6'7", 360 climbing up to the second level and putting a hat on a hat with a linebacker. This is a guy that's done it for a really long time in the SEC, has been a bona fide proven commodity at the right tackle position. This is about as plug and play as it gets. And this is not a G5 guy that you're not sure if he can make the transition to the Power 4 level. Micah Pettus has done it in the SEC for the last 3 years. You feel really good about Micah Pettus coming in and kind of being that right tackle for Florida State in 2025. And you can say the same thing for Gunnar Hansen at the left tackle spot. They brought in two proven commodities at the tackle position. Gunnar Hansen, a guy that has played 2,100 snaps, has made 35 career starts. Very good in pass protection. Maybe not as physically imposing as Micah Pettus, but probably better pass protector. And that's what you want in a left tackle. You want your right tackles to be road graders that can hold up in pass pro. And you want your left tackle to make sure he's damn good in pass pro, but also is serviceable in the run game, which Gunnar Hansen is. You take a look at what Florida State has done in the transfer portal up until this point. 10 transfer portal additions. The thing that sticks out to me the most is I think you got 3 bona fide proven starters for Florida State heading into 2025. Micah Pettus at right tackle. You got Gunnar Hansen at left tackle. You got Adrian Medley coming in, who started every single game for UCF in 2024 at left guard. I look at it and say that it's hard to find starting caliber guys on the offensive line. Florida State, to me, has found 3 of them. And then you start scrolling down, and it's not outside of Deuce Robinson. These aren't crazy names, but they're guys who've played a lot of football. Now, Deuce Robinson, we talked about him Sunday night. You might be getting an All-American caliber guy, and we really do like the fit of Deuce Robinson. Hey, Gus Malzahn wants to push the ball down the field. Deuce Robinson at 6'6", 220, averaging almost 20 yards per catch in his college football career, seems like a really good fit at the wide receiver position for this Gus Malzahn offense. You start scrolling down and say, Deontay McRae, really good fit at that 3-tech position in this Tony Way 3-3-5. You look at James Williams, one of the more dangerous pure pass rushers that you're going to see in college football going into 2025, kind of replacing that maybe production that you got from Patrick Payton. Stephon Thompson, a guy that has played a lot of football at that off-ball linebacker spot, at the very least, is going to be that veteran presence who's been with Tony White for a long time, including going back to his days at Syracuse. And you got a guy like Thomas Castellanos, where I know a lot of Florida State fans are kind of not sold on Thomas Castellanos, if you will. And I'll admit, there are question marks for me as well. The question marks make me feel better when you see Mike Norvell says, I've played against this guy for a couple of years now at Boston College. He's hard to game plan against. And then you get Gus Malzahn, a guy that I just trust with an offense, saying, hey, I know who Thomas Castellanos is. I've worked with him as a coach. I think I can design a good offense around him. So if Gus Malzahn and Mike Norvell are on board, which it seemed like they were early on Thomas Castellanos, again, this was not a settle play, right? DJU was kind of a settle. Florida State wanted Cam Ward. Cam Ward went to Miami. And Florida State's like, all right, we got to grab a quarterback. Let's go grab DJU. This was a guy that Florida State identified early as their target at the quarterback position and went out and grabbed him. It's not flashy for Florida State, but we kind of said it. We didn't want it to be flashy. We wanted to just go get proven guys in the transfer portal and get this train going back in the right direction. That's, to me, what Florida State has done. We'll see. I think there's a lot more to go for Florida State building this roster heading into 2025. We'll close it out there. A lot to be excited about Micah Pettus. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.